r/AskReddit by Reddit. What celebrity did bad things but everyone forgot what they did because they're famous? Elvis Presley and Priscilla, age 14. Right out in the public, no one batted an eye. Her parents allowed her to go on a trip under the condition that Elvis pay for a first-class round trip and arrange for her to be chaperoned at all times, and that she write home every day. Elvis agreed to all these demands, and Priscilla flew to Los Angeles. Elvis told her they were going to Las Vegas, and to throw her parents off the scent, he had Priscilla pre-write a postcard for every day they'd be away to be mailed from Los Angeles by a member of his staff, and dropped her off back home pregnant at 17 and addicted to heroin and disappeared. Dr. Seuss, creator of Cat in the Hat, was having an affair while his wife was battling depression and cancer. When she committed suicide, she left him a note that said, "Dear Ted, what has happened to us? I don't know. I feel myself in a spiral, going down into a black hole from which there is no escape, no brightness. And loud in my ears from every side I hear, failure, failure, failure. I love you so much. I'm too old and enmeshed in everything you do and are that I cannot conceive of life without you. My going will leave quite a rumor, but you can say I was overworked and overwrought. Your reputation with your friends and fans will not be harmed. Sometimes think of the fun we had all through the years. And the person he had the affair with would become his second wife. One wife, two wife, dead wife, new wife." Tom Cruise is the celebrity face for a massive cult that kidnaps, rapes, and is likely involved in human trafficking and child marriages. The cult that outlawed the ducking IRS. But yeah, Mission Impossible was cool, I guess. It's honestly so terrifying. If anyone wants to look this up, look up Leah Remini. She openly talks about what happened while she was in the cult and actually has stories of Tom Cruise and being a celebrity in Scientology. The scariest part is the length they've gone to in an attempt to silence her and discredit the documentary. They really don't want the general public to know about the horrors that go on in their churches. Mr. Mosby from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody killed someone in a drunk driving accident. Edit. Phil Lewis is unlike many of the others on this thread in that he was sincerely remorseful for his actions. The comedy troupe that he created helped spread awareness of the dangers of drunk and reckless driving, and that helped play a role in his reduced sentence. People can change with reflection, introspection, and genuine remorse for their wrongdoings, and he seems like a very good representation of that. Is no one gonna mention Caitlyn Jenner hitting that pregnant woman and forcing her into traffic, then getting the Woman of the Year award? I guess I remembered that wrong. Turns out it was an elderly woman, and the woman died when she was hit by a Hummer. Also, remember that Brendan Schaub, the millionaire podcaster / comedian, spit in someone's face and then threw them through a sliding glass door because they asked him to stop eating his food? Look into it. Mark Wahlberg beat and blinded a Vietnamese guy just because he was Vietnamese. I can't believe it took me this long scrolling to find this. He's making millions off the Transformers films and everyone conveniently has forgotten that he committed a hate crime. Ozzy Osbourne once tried to kill Sharon. Elvis dated a 14-year-old girl, then, when she had a child, mentioned he was unable to love a woman with a child. Even after he started dating adult women, he treated them like crap. David Bowie slept with and dated a 13 to 14-year-old, who he also cheated on with multiple men and women at the same time. Steven Tyler adopted an already very troubled teenage girl he met backstage, had sex with her, and pressured her into having an abortion, and was generally rather abusive towards her. Jay-Z stabbed a producer, Rivera. Chris Brown beat up Rihanna. Gandhi was actually incredibly racist. Johnny Cash was almost responsible for wiping out an endangered species of bird after his truck caught fire, and he fled the scene, which caused a square mile of forest to burn down, taking out half the population of the species. More on the topic of this particular misdemeanor, his nephew, who was with him at the time, said that the fire wasn't accidental as Johnny claimed, and instead was started in an attempt for Johnny to stay warm, but because he was doped up on drugs, he failed to notice the fire getting out of control. Cash was also quoted as saying, "I didn't do it, my truck did, and it's dead, so you can't question it, and I don't care about your damn yellow buzzards." Steve Jobs pretended his daughter wasn't his for years until he was sued to admit he was when she was 8 years old, and even then he was still often neglectful. A. Milline, Winnie the Pooh creator and author, got his ideas from his son's stuffed animals. His son was horrified by the lack of privacy shown by his father and use of his real name, Christopher Robin Milline, in his father's books. Christopher was bullied unmercifully through school. His father showed total indifference to his son's plight. After college, Christopher claims that he couldn't find a job because of his childlike namesake. Yet his father pushed on. He repeatedly pleaded with his father to stop, but his dad saw dollar signs and chose to ignore his son's emotional well-being. Kevin Spacey, R. Kelly, Jimmy Savile was getting away with crap at the BBC for decades. Gary Glitter, Harvey Weinstein. They're all pedos and rapists, but they were allowed to get away with crap whilst in the spotlight for so long. It took until Jimmy Savile's death for it all to come out. Says something about the BBC. Spacey's own brother has said growing up with him, he was and still is a monster who thinks he is superior to others. Roman Polanski raped a woman after his wife and unborn child were killed by Charles Manson and his cult. I feel sorry for him that he lost his wife and child who he loved, but it's no excuse to rape someone. Marlon Brando was a great actor, but the fact he seemed to give no crap about using birth control makes you lose respect for him. He had about 20 kids, most of whom were a love child to separate women. Frank Sinatra couldn't stand him apparently. David Bowie slept with 13 over 14-year-old girls. And as great as artist he is, that's still statutory rape. In fact, a lot of celebs from that era slept with teenage girls who were minors. 6ix9ine also raped someone, but every for some reason feels sorry for him lately. Even though everything going on with him is probably karma for raping a woman. Rick Mayall, he cheated on his wife and left her either whilst she was having a miscarriage or it caused her to have one shortly after he announced he was leaving her. The list is endless. Celebs are corrupt AF and think the laws and rules that apply to everyone else don't apply to them. Some of them unfortunately think they have all the power and develop a god complex. You can meet lovely celebs though who have their feet firmly on the ground and are down to earth people. Not sure if this has been said yet, but Winston Churchill, he was a known white supremacist. He said, I do not admit for instance that a great wrong has been done to the Red Indians of America or the black people of Australia. I do not admit that a wrong has been done to these people by the fact that a stronger race, a higher grade race, a more worldly wise race, to put it that way, has come in and taken their place. 2. Advocated use of poisonuses against Kurds and Afghans saying, I cannot understand this squeamishness about the use of gas, he wrote in a memo during his role as Minister for War and Air in 1919. I'm strongly in favor of using poisoned gas against uncivilized tribes. 3. Starved India like Mao and Stalin did in the 1900s. More here. And a whole other bunch of awful things. The Kennedy presidents had a sister who was forcibly lobotomized because our father thought she was too promiscuous and not very intelligent and feared if his daughter was labeled a dumb whore by the media the family political dynasty would be in peril. Worst part is, she wasn't really any more promiscuous than any other 20-something at the time and definitely nowhere near as sexually active as the rest of her family and was probably of perfectly normal intellect. She just wasn't a male, thus not politically useful, so her daddy decided to throw her away by having a doctor turn her brain into jelly with an ice pick. The entire Kennedy family is pretty ducked up, yet America just can't seem to stop electing them. Dr. Dre beat the crap out of T. Barnes for interviewing Ice Cube post NWA split. From the description of the event in Wikipedia, he picked her up by her hair and began slamming her head and the right side of her body repeatedly against a brick wall near the stairway as his bodyguard held off the crowd with a gun. After Dre tried to throw her down the stairs and failed, he began kicking her in the ribs and hands. She escaped and ran into the women's restroom. Dr. Dre followed her and grabbed her from behind by the hair again and proceeded to punch her in the back of the head. To this day he is one of the biggest music influences of his time, and everyone still loves Beats by Dre. Charlie Chaplin and Edgar Allan Poe both had sex with and married underage girls. Both are considered icons and pioneers in their fields. Poe's case is fuzzier. He did marry his cousin, Virginia, when she was 13. Though, many say that their relationship was more like brother and sister, and Poe married her in order to take care of her because she was destitute and the marriage was never consummated. Most of the sources that claim they did sleep together say it happened years after their marriage, when she was 16, which is legal in most places by today's standards. Many seem to think that Poe was actually gay or maybe asexual. The problem with Poe's history is his first and most contemporary biography was written after his death by an author named Rufus Griswold, who absolutely hated Poe. He wrote a book of poems that Poe gave a bad review, plus Poe was a lot more successful of a writer than he ever was. When Poe died, Griswold wrote his obituary, "Edgar Allan Poe is dead. He died in Baltimore the day before yesterday." This announcement will startle many, but few will be grieved by it. The reason Poe is often thought of as some crazy misanthrope is because of Griswold's biography. He was actually nothing like Griswold said he was, and was a pretty normal guy by most standards of the day. But Griswold wanting his revenge made him seem crazy. I personally think the story that Poe married Virginia to take care of her and didn't consummate is probably what happened. But really there isn't enough evidence one way or the other to say for sure. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comments section below.